hit the dang on button. Hold on one second. We about to get to the bottom of this, ladies and gentlemen. This don't make no sense whatsoever. Welcome to the Dark Waters channel, where we explore mysteries, figure out the truth, dive into politics, and anything else you want to know about. That's what we doing over here, baby. Let's go. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The one and only James Williams, Dark Waters, and I'm back. And today, I'm going to talk to you about China. If you notice, the American news as a whole is avoiding what's going on with the United States of America and China. China being our biggest foreign adversary, although people would like to say that it is Russia, it is actually China. Happy Nissan to those of you who celebrate Passover. Today is the second day of Passover. Historically, biblically, the day that Sodom and Gomorrah was judged, the day that Esther went into the king to save the Jewish people, and unfortunately, the day disobedience led to the Israelites in the desert ceasing to get manna because they were complaining about what the Lord was giving them after he fed them in the desert. Nonetheless, our biggest adversary is China. And if you're not watching what's going on with China, you will get caught by surprise. Like today's news, everybody's hitting on Trump and Nayib Bukele being in the White House and them talking about, will you return terrorists? And we'll touch on that. But I'm going to touch on some things that nobody else is touching on because I don't find those things really interesting. Anybody with common sense knew that there was no way that man, that MS-13 gang member, was going to come back to America. So let's touch on China. Let's start with something that's the most prevalent, prevailing thing on YouTube right now. In fact, let's go to TikTok and let's see what's going on. It'll be easier on TikTok.
If you've been seeing videos like these for exposing the Chinese luxury...
No, I don't want people talking about them. I want the people talking.
Wholesalers, it's 2024 and you still don't know who are the suppliers behind Dior? Their knitwears and cardigans are from Beyond Garments from Hangzhou. Beyond Garments is also the supplier behind many luxury brands from America and Europe like Sandra, Maj, and Versace. Second,
I don't think we can use this because she's going to have the
Recognize this style, this bag. Of course you do. For the past more than 30 years, we have been the OEM factory for most of the luxury brands around the world. Gucci, Prada, Coach, Louis Vuitton, you name it. But for this, I am not proud because we were only making our wages. The profit margin for the people who are actually making the bags are very low. What I'm really proud of is that first, we have the best quality control. Two, we have the best craftsmanship. You know, Chinese craftsmen are always intelligent and diligent. Three, we have the most complete supply chain. We always get what we want, like zippers, accessories of any kind, any color, and leathers immediately. Now, as the USA and its little European brothers are trying to refuse Chinese goods, don't you think luxury brands are not trying to move their OEM out of China? Yes, they did, but they failed because the OEM factories out of China, they don't have good quality control and they don't have as good craftsmanship. Their workers are either too expensive or too lazy. Three, they don't have any supply chain. They always have trouble getting leather or zippers or any accessories. That is why they failed, and that is why we will always be the best OEM factory for luxury brands. Why don't you just contact us and buy from us? You won't believe the prices we give you. Recognize this stuff.
Now, this is all over TikTok and all over.
Why are Chinese factories all over TikTok right now? Manufacturers like these guys are sharing videos claiming to expose what goes into making designer goods. They're breaking down how little it costs to put together a product and how much people are then asked to pay once a logo is stuck onto an item. They claim designers like Hermes, who make the iconic but extremely pricey Birkin bag, actually get their bags made in China, ship them to Europe to add their branding, and sell them to US customers for way more than it costs to make. That's the opposite of what Hermes says on its website, which doesn't mention China and has a map showing where they operate in France. So what are guys like this on about? It's all to do with US President Trump's tariffs. He announced 100...
Okay, that's enough for that. The point I'm making is this. Imagine for a moment, you're in the the shoes of the Chinese Communist Party. Let's be clear. Nothing comes out on the internet in China, whether it be through TikTok or anything else, that's not approved by the Chinese Communist Party. So why all of a sudden are they calling themselves exposing luxury brands? What is it they're trying to accomplish is the question that you should ask yourself. If you went to any of these TikTok channels, everybody's in the chat saying, give me the link to the store. Well, we know they can't sell into the American market because of the tariffs. So what are they actually trying to accomplish? It's cutting off your nose to spite your face. And also they're trying to pressure the Europeans into saying, hey, that's why he mentioned American it is little brother to Europeans. They're trying to pressure the Europeans into saying, no, we're not going to side with Donald Trump on these tariffs, because they ran into a problem. Remember, it was a couple of days ago that Donald Trump took the tariffs off everybody except for China. Everyone except for China. So China's sitting there saying, no. We got to find a way to turn these people against Trump. And they put themselves in a precarious situation because at the end of the day, the market to sell all that bull crap is America. So they're trying to persuade the other nations around America coming up on the BRICS summit that we can cause pain to your luxury brands. The fact of the matter is, luxury brands are only things that affect rich people, and they only give a damn about them. Once you got one Hermes Birkin bag, how many damn Hermes bags do you need? So you see them coming out putting this stupid, it's a dumb move. It truly is a dumb move to call themselves applying pressure. And at the same time, the other part of it is they're destroying the brands themselves. So, for example, Gucci. If they're telling the truth, which I believe they are, and they come out and they say, well, Gucci's selling you these shoes for $400, but we make them for $40 in China. Who are they damaging? They're damaging Gucci. Who actually buys Gucci? I'm not buying no damn Gucci shoes. I don't give a damn about no Gucci shoes. You don't give a damn about Gucci shoes. They're damaging the brand of Gucci. And who are they cutting it off? Who are they cutting off the guilty pleasure of? Extremely rich people. But at the same time, the miscalculation is 17-fold. Wealthy people don't want to buy stuff that they know is not exclusive. So all you're saying is, okay, well, we got these bags from China and you marked it up from 1,000 to 35,000. Okay, the wealthiest person gonna say, well, shit, I'm not buying that. I'll find someone else to buy a bag that's actually has some real value to it. So they're cutting off their nose to spite their own faces because they think that this is going to win in a trade war by applying pressure to partners in the U.S. Here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen to China is people are going to say, all right, let's say it was all of us that's watching this video. And we all were on a company together, and I was the chairman of the board. You ain't going to be the chairman. It's my company. You know what I'm saying? And we all sat in the boardroom, and we said, hey, I know we got this tariff war going on, and we're not getting our supplies out of China. We may say, okay, well, let's try and hold off because we've been in partnership with these people for 20 years. Let's just cancel the orders for now. Let's communicate with them. Let them know, hey, we're going to figure out if we can find another way to get this into the country. Then our partner that we've been in business with for 20 years comes out and says, well, yeah, you know that Williams bag that the lady's been buying, that the James Williams Corporation has been selling for $6,000? Well, we make it for $50. So we all in the board meeting, we sitting there saying, ain't this a trick? You low down Sandy Beach. You just done told them where we got our stuff from. So what options does that leave us as a brand? Ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, tell me what you would do. I can tell you what I would do as a chairman of the board. I would say, okay, you over there, Molly, go to Vietnam, go to Indonesia, go to India, and go and see who can make our product cheaper. If we can't get it as cheap as we can get it from China, we'll eat that cost. But you get on a plane. And I would have a research team go out and find who can make my product and make it fast. And then once I have a supply chain in place, which best believe I would have it in place quickly, I will come out and say, well, they're lying. Those are the knockoff bags, and we're going to sue them. No, it ain't no international lawsuits going on, but those are knockoff bags, and I would call them liars. Yeah, those are all knockoffs. These are people who've been undercutting us and putting knockoff products on the market. And that's it. That ends that financial relationship. So China's making moves that are panic moves. You combine that with what's going on in Panama, where Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth clearly are showing us that we're in a face-off war with China in Panama, and that there's a war that's already started with China in Panama. And honestly, these actions by these social media spokesmen from factories on the behalf of the CCP is a form of economic warfare, not only against America, but against all the other brands in the other nations. So they say you go currency war, trade war, currency war, world war. We're headed to war with China. And it's not a hot war where it's boom, 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 we blowing stuff up. But trust me, we are at war with China right now, and China's getting their butt whooped. You need to understand that. It's the one thing that's not talked about in the news. I mean, it's sensational what happened at the White House today. I mean, it really is sensational. They're, are you going to send back the terrorists? But let's just get deeper into what's going on in China.
One of the key battlegrounds in the U.S.-China rivalry, Panama, has made headlines recently with new developments. Earlier, Hong Kong's richest man, Li Ka-shing, became a focus of international attention after facing heavy pressure from the Chinese Communist Party. He sold his ports in Panama to the U.S. investment firm BlackRock. Panama's government recently stated that it might revoke the operating rights due to alleged contract violations by Li's company. According to reports from AFP and Bloomberg, Panama's Comptroller General's office released a report stating that the Panama Ports Company, a subsidiary of Li's Chengkang Group, had violated several contractual procedures when renewing its operating rights for 25 years in 2021. The company also hired a series of tax-exempt contractors to reduce the payments it owed to the Panamanian government, violating the agreement to share 10% of its net profits. Additionally, a 2003 tax decision helped the company to avoid paying $850 million in taxes, and it still owes Panama $300 million. Panama's authorities have stated that they will prosecute the officials who approved the contract renewal and have submitted the audit filings to the Maritime Department. Legal experts believe that if the Comptroller General confirms that the renewal violated procedures, or if the Panamanian Supreme Court declares the contract unconstitutional, the operating rights could be revoked. Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino has reiterated that the government will not negotiate with China now or in the future. He stressed that Panama is distancing itself from the Belt and Road Initiative and that the sale of Panama Canal Port concessions is still ongoing. In early February, Mulino had announced that the Panamanian embassy in Beijing had informed China of Panama's decision to withdraw from the Belt and Road Initiative, effective in 90 days. He emphasized that this decision would not change. Mulino also said that this decision was based on the fact that the Belt and Road Initiative is more of a fantasy than reality. He added that the Belt and Road Initiative hasn't made any progress and that his government will keep its distance from it. Mulino also confirmed that the sale of the Panama Canal Port concessions by Li Ka-shing's company to a group led by the U.S. firm BlackRock is still moving forward. However, Mulino revealed that since the sale is not yet finalized, the Panamanian government does not have enough documentation, financial, or legal information at this stage. Meanwhile, the U.S. government has shown unparalleled determination. On April 8th, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, during a visit to Panama, stated that the U.S. would reclaim influence over the Panama Canal from the CCP.
All right, let's stop right there. What the person said was a mouthful, but I don't want to jack their video. So we're going to go in and we're going to dive in and interpret what was just said. We have BlackRock. Here we have the Chinese dude, Xi Jinping. And they're in contractual negotiations, or supposedly they sold the contract to BlackRock. What the Panama Canal is saying, hey man, you Chinese people, because you got to understand, any Chinese businessman is a part of the CCP. I mean, at that level. Now, your average little guy who's running around buying some real estate, I wouldn't say. But somebody at that massive level is hands-on controlled by the CCP. It's kind of like Jack Ma. Remember Jack Ma? Nobody sees Jack Ma anymore because Jack Ma said something bad against Chinese Communist Party, and Jack Ma disappeared, right? They memory hold Jack Ma. So when we start talking about massive things like this is the Chinese Communist Party. And so what we have here is the government of Panama saying, no, y'all owe us $300 million. And if you don't give us our $300 million, not only are we going to kill a contract that you thought you sold, but it's going to drive down the value of what you're getting paid. For example, if you and I are making an agreement to purchase something, and let's say the agreed value is $1 billion, and it's a 25-year contract, and I'm going to make $10 billion over 25 years. But then in the process of closing this deal, which is what they were saying, they haven't seen all the paperwork, which means they know the deal is still closing. It turns out that you may not actually have everything done right to have the 25-year lease. You may have not submitted everything you needed to secure this for the next 25 years. So if I'm BlackRock and I'm hearing this, I'm saying, hold on, bro. Y'all don't even have everything secure. And what the nation of Panama is saying to BlackRock is, hey, this is still up in the air. You need to come deal with us directly and do this deal with us, because they ain't did everything they need to do. So this is financial warfare at its highest level. Their high-end kind of their version of BlackRock versus BlackRock that's American owned. So this is corporate warfare, hardcore corporate warfare. Those of you who listen to the Lion Men, Judah stories, Operation Black Sun, this is what I was talking about that was going on in those stories with those people. It's what goes on amongst nations all the time. It's no different than Mark Zuckerberg getting Facebook from DARPA and then being fronted the money and given the technology and then becoming this gigantic figure all over the world. Mark Zuckerberg is owned by someone. And it's the same thing that happens over and over and over again. But if you don't look at it from the governmental ownership perspective, the governmental tie perspective, then you won't see what's happening right in front of you. And quite frankly, with American news, they don't even show you this. These are the most important things that are going on as it pertains to America. Why is the Panama Canal important? For shipping and also for war. More than anything, war. Raining down death, destruction, and mayhem. War. And so we see what China is taking L's. China taking L's when it comes to the tariffs. And when you see all this stuff online about them selling brands, notice there's no links, there's no stores. They can't ship anything to you. They ain't gonna. Now, could they possibly get away with selling you a Birkin bag for that they paid $1,000 for and selling to you for $3,000? I mean, yeah, but it would have to be super high end. You know what I'm saying? Super duper duper high end. But it's not gonna work to sell you one purse. Or we're gonna ship this one purse to America. You get what I'm saying? People like, give me the Dior makeup. We're going to send this one package of makeup to America. To Miss Betty. It ain't going to happen. The cost is too astronomical. So, understand, there's warfare going on. And I want you to be aware of it. I just don't want you to be sitting back thinking, oh, everything is good. You know what I'm saying? Because the liberal media, bro, they are so wild. They're not even letting people see the truth of what's going on. This is a news story that's all over the place right now that I want to react to. This is Gayle King. Supposedly Gayle King, Katy Perry, and a whole bunch of broads went on the Orion space crew and went into space today. And there's been talk about privatizing space, where people can actually go into space. I mean, it's 10 years ago that they were talking about privatizing space. Everything that Elon Musk is doing is talking about privatizing space. Space Force is created on the thought of privatizing space, right? But this is the world we're in right now. Azealia Banks is coming back at them and saying that she don't even believe that they went into space. Because Gayle King said that Katy Perry sung during the 10-minute trip in the outside around the earth. So basically they were in there and Katy Perry was singing. Now you ask yourself a question. Why would you put a crew of women into space? The answer to the question is really simple. Marketing. Marketing into the seventh wave feminism that's going on out here right now. So they can come back and be like, oh, I went to space. It was so great. I went to space, blah, blah, blah. We're the first women to go on a private space. It was a woman that did it. Yada, 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 yada. This will be out of the news by tomorrow. It'll never be spoken about again after tomorrow. Because you took celebrities and went into space with a whole bunch of BS celebrities. One I like, but the rest of them garbage. I mean, full on hot garbage celebrities. Let's get into the rest of the stuff that I want to touch on. Watch this. A Florida woman has been taken into custody after allegedly trying to sell human remains on Facebook Marketplace. Before I play this, why would you sell human remains on Facebook Marketplace? Can anybody tell me why people want to purchase human remains? And who wants to buy human remains? There's only one type of people that want to buy human remains. And it's one of the things that's prevalent in this nation. I'm glad this person has been arrested. But you got to understand the witchcraft and sorcery that's in the United States of America right now is at the point to where it's unsustainable. You had Lady Gaga doing a satanic ritual at one of these awards just recently. It's the level of Satanism that's been let loose in America is insane. But we say all the time it's spiritual warfare. It truly is spiritual warfare.
In Volusia County, this woman is now facing charges after police say she bought and sold human bones. Orange City Police say Kimberly Shopper, the owner of Wicked Wonderland, knowingly purchased and offered human bones for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Police say that this has been an ongoing investigation.
Wicked Wonderland.
Since December of 2023, officials said they met with Shopper. She claimed that the bones were educational models, which would protect their sale under state law. However, that's not the case. She was taken into custody Thursday and released on bond yesterday. Shopper is facing charges of trading in human tissue.
That's something about New Orleans. Like, so many people come to New Orleans and they want, I'm going to go to the graveyard tour. Like, don't go do no damn graveyard tour. Ain't no reason for you to go do a damn graveyard tour. They go do the graveyard tour. Then, when I used to hang out in the French Quarters a lot, smoking cigars, people would come and tell me, man, I went to the graveyard tour and they had a whole bunch of open tombs. I said, yeah, because they go in the tombs and they take the bones and they grind the bones down and they make stuff with it. And you'd be like, what do you mean? Like, man, you messing with real stuff, man. You messing with real deal magic around here in these streets. I told people a long time ago, New Orleans, Louisiana is like freaking Hogwarts. That's what it is. But people, he blah, 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 whatever. Screw y'all. Let's get into what would be the story of the day. There's multiple stories of the day, but let's get into what would be the story of the day.
Suppose you're not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
I want to start with this. To anybody who happens to watch this story, that's a liberal. If you are any skin color other than white, black, Latino, Asian, anything other than a white liberal, I want you to understand something about the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is fighting harder, and the news media is fighting harder for gang members, murderers, and rapists than they've ever fought for any demographic of their party. They're fighting harder for murderers and rapists than they fought for black people, than they fought for Asian people, than they fought for Indian people. Then they fought for like Native American people. They are fighting for criminals more than they fought for any other demographic group that's a part of their coalition. Right now, the hierarchy is criminals, then all the alphabet groups, then everybody else. You can confidently say that the Democratic Party right now is the party of criminals and weirdos. And I don't understand how you could even vote for them. I don't even understand how you can sit there and go and protest on their behalf. When they're sitting there saying a gang member should be brought back into America. Someone they had 2 deportation orders on. And then the news media lies and said that he was sent off mistakenly.
Well, I'm supposed to not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always
how can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
You could release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into our
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
You know, we've reached a point, as it pertains to the United States of America, where there are people that should be getting arrested. And I know that if they're going to do it they're going to keep on pushing this until it's overkill. They're going to keep allowing them to make these mistakes and make these maneuvers until it's just overkill, where you just can no longer deny the fact that these people are an enemy army in the United States of America. There's enemies on the Supreme Court. There's enemies in federal court. There's enemies in local courts. There's enemies in state courts. There's enemies in local government that are governors and mayors. They're going to let this drill home to the American people until the American people get it. I don't think this stops until the American people take to the streets and say, no, we want them arrested. Because that's the only other plan I can see playing out here. Like this whole debacle of this gang member and them saying he needs to be they need to facilitate a way for him to come home. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And I just think everybody's going to see it. Same thing with this Tesla crap. Watch this.
So the feds have charged a man with attacking a Tesla showroom in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the Republican headquarters in the same city, same person. So here's the suspect. Interesting. Some interesting lipstick there. 40 years old Jamison Wagner is now, we are told, in custody. Senior national correspondent William LaJeunesse looking into who this individual is. And
weirdos.
on this live from Los Angeles. Hi, William.
Hey, Martha. Surveillance video caught
weirdos. That in my younger days, if we were walking up down the street with somebody like, you weirdo is what you are. You're
Jamison
a weirdo.
Wagner torching both the Tesla showroom and the GOP headquarters in Albuquerque.
Damn it.
And now Wagner, seen here in that black lipstick that you mentioned, is looking at 40 years in prison. Now, FBI Director Kash Patel also credited ATF investigators for linking him to the firebombing at both locations. So at Tesla, they found an intact IED filled with a flammable liquid and graffiti saying "Die Elon, Tesla Nazi Inc." and a swastika on the building and 6 vehicles. Then it was about a month later that cameras picked up the same suspect wearing black clothing and a mask, carrying a white box, where he also firebombed the GOP headquarters and spray painted ICE KKK in perfect lettering on the building.
This was not just an attack on our building. This is an attack on our values, our free speech, and the right of every New Mexican that wants to participate in the democratic process without fear.
So separate video caught the suspect fleeing the scene in a white Hyundai. Then, when police got a search warrant at his home, they found the Hyundai, a white cardboard box containing 8 homemade firebombs, nearly identical to those they found at Tesla and the GOP. And then get this, they found the black and the red spray paint matching the graffiti used at both crime scenes, and then the stencil that was used to put on the phrase ICE KKK that was found.
A weirdo idiot criminal who thought there was going to be no consequences for his actions. So you didn't get rid of the paint. You didn't get rid of the stencil. You didn't get rid of nothing. Crazy, man.
At the GOP headquarters, perfectly right in his house. So he is charged with several counts of destruction of property by arson. Each carries 5 to 20 year sentence. No word yet, Martha, on whether he will get bail.
Yeah, not a great cleanup job after the crime of this alleged suspect.
No, because he's an idiot. He's a liberal, idiot, crazy person. And that's the problem. That's the danger of this. It's amazing how they could be wind up like toy soldiers and sent out to do stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen a man wound up like a toy soldier and thrown at you like a grenade. I've seen it multiple times, where someone will get in someone's head and wind them up, and then they come out chasing after you and talking crazy and going reckless. But they're a toy soldier. They really are. Now, I'm going to tell you the danger of the toy soldier strategy. The person that, let's call the person that winds them up the toy maker. If you can withstand the barrage of the toy soldiers, eventually, as you punch each toy soldier in the face and knock them down, at some point in time, the rest of the toys turn around and look at the toy maker and say, "Hey, you bastard, I saw what you did with him. You sent him out there and he got destroyed." And that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a toy maker and toy soldiers. And it's, at some point in time, it's going to reach the turning point. I just hope it's faster. I hope it's sooner than later. But we're getting there. You can clearly see we're getting there. But when these toy soldiers turn on the Liberal Party, which you kind of see them doing in certain ways, it's going to be violent. That violence that they're doing on everybody else is going to turn inward. And you're going to see some rough stuff happen, man. The Harvard University is kind of an example of this. I struggle to understand, and the only way I can believe that this is being allowed to be done is because they're letting the toy soldier strategy play out. Like on college campuses, pro-Palestinian protesters have been running wild. And the federal government has said, okay, if you keep on doing this, we're going to cut your federal funding. We're talking about Harvard University, man. What used to be one of the most prestigious universities on the planet. I remember 5 years ago, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, when my son was getting ready to pick a college, I talked to one of my friends who's in corporate America in sales, and he said, it used to be that I would tell you to get your son or daughter to go to Harvard or go to Princeton or one of those schools, but they become so liberal that they don't really function the way they should. The degree doesn't mean what it used to mean. It'd be better if they just went to a SEC school, because we're hiring students from SEC schools because we know they've had the full experience. They've partied, they've drunk, they smoked, they did this, they went to football games. They're a real well-rounded individual. if they're well-rounded, then we can work with them. We're not hiring students from those prestigious universities because they're not well-rounded. They cannot get along with people. And it's the sad thing that our most prestigious universities and schools are producing products that are, utterly ridiculous and just stupid.
Welcome back. Breaking just moments ago, Harvard's lawyers say that the university will not comply with the Trump administration's demands in a brand new letter. It reads in part, quote, Harvard is not prepared to agree to demands that go beyond the lawful authority of this or any administration. Sandra, the administration had been threatening to pull federal funding from a lot of these Ivy League schools if they didn't get their ducks in order when it comes to fighting anti-Semitism on campus. They're not bluffing. They've already pulled the funding. So Harvard's essentially saying, are they trying to call a bluff here?
Yeah. So I imagine there will be a quick response, and we'll have that for you when it happens.
Something about her eyes I don't like. Let's listen to what this guy has to say about luxury brands from China. If you notice, he's the primary spokesperson.
Some say as long as there's a tag saying made in China, the bag can never be luxury. However, in fact, more than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China. But those luxury brands just won't acknowledge that. They take almost finished bags from China factories back to their own factories and just do the repackaging and logo installing, something like that. That way, the bags will appear at their boutiques as made in Italy or made in France. You know, those sophisticated European countries, which make you feel mysterious, royal, and thus luxury. Now, close your eyes. Let's just do a little, very easy experiment in your head, okay? Imagine that you have a...
It's amazing that he's using NLP. Close your eyes. Imagine for a moment, and then they add the music in. This is pure Chinese propaganda. I wanted to break you out of the propaganda and propose a question to you. Who is this targeted towards? If he was talking to the French, wouldn't he be talking oui, parlez-vous français? If we were talking to the Germans, wouldn't it be German, speaking in German, however they talk? Right? If it was Russian, if it was Japanese, it would be something like that, right? No, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't understand. I don't understand it. It's the dumbest move on the planet. But let's let dumb man keep on playing his hands.
And Hermes, you have an Hermes bag, and suddenly the label on it changed from made in France into made in China, while everything else, like leathers, zippers, and hardware, remain the same. Do you suddenly feel that your bag is not as luxury as before? If you do, that means you have been misled and poisoned by the market campaign of those luxury brands for too long. Welcome to the real world. Now you see, those bags are made in China by our intelligent and diligent Chinese artisans. Let's not be poisoned and misled by the market campaign any longer and be a real person. Buy a bag from us, from our factory in China. See the real world for yourself. Some say...
Man, that's wild. It's an assassination attempt on all their clients. You assassination attempt on all your retail clients. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. I personally feel like this man should be talking way more than he does. Stephen Miller, who I call the autistic wonder, because clearly he has a tad bit of autism or something. And I wouldn't even call it, something's off with him. With autism may not be the right word. Something off with him. But he's extremely smart. But still something's freaking off with him. He's high, super high functioning to the point that maybe he's just a little weird. But this man should talk all day, every day.
Gentlemen, the return, guys, do you know the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order? Do you know the difference? Any of you, please. Do you?
Well, we're not in the government.
But you didn't spend. So you couldn't even spend. You couldn't even spend 72 hours over the weekend learning the distinction, even though you've been writing and talking about it this whole time.
Stephen, we're not going anywhere.
Please.
On the gold cards.
Just raise your hand. Does any of you know the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order?
How do you know that he's a member of MS-13? The White House has repeatedly said according to intelligence.
According to, by the way, according to our government and his government. In other words, his government has confirmed based on their own intelligence that he's a member of MS-13. First of all, do you dispute that he's an illegal alien?
What's that?
Do you dispute that he's an illegal alien?
No.
Okay. And do you dispute that as an illegal alien, we have the right to deport him?
He went through
He went through the legal process. So I want to be very. What I'm getting from this conversation, which is educational for me, is that not one person in the media knows the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order. Is that a fair statement? You're learning about this all for the first time right now? I guess so. Okay. So the deportation order means the judge has said he must be deported from the country. He has no right to remain here any longer. He must be removed from the country. So his only options are to be deported to his home country or another country. That's it. There's no other option. He doesn't get to stay here. He doesn't get to live here. He has no future here. He has no right to be here. He's an illegal alien. So when you keep saying return, because you've been spun up by the open borders advocates, you all seem to be operating under the illusion that he would be able to come to the United States and just continue to live here illegally. That's not an option available to him. His only choices in life are to live in El Salvador or to live in another country. That's it. There's no other option, legally or otherwise, because he came to our country illegally. Do you understand that?
That was common sense. The thing that amazes me about this is it's common sense to us. You came to the country illegally, you were deported. Even if they brought you back. Let's say Bukele said, yeah, we'll send him back. And we flew his ass right back into America. Guess what? They're going to deport him again. And if I was I said this a couple of videos ago, I said if I was the president, I would bring him back. And then I will put him in a hellhole somewhere in Afghanistan. You would never do it again. I'd be like, hey, what's the worst prison we could put him in? Who has the best relationship with us? And we could put him in the worst hole in the ground ever. Someplace like in Cambodia. A Cambodian, like, underground cave prison. I'm talking about ain't no power, ain't no water. You going underground, dog. You're going to be digging holes for the rest of your life. You're going to be eating bugs that's what I would have did. And then I would have let them go crazy over that. I'd have said, oh, well, you wanted him to come back. He's not a U.S. citizen. He's an illegal. And now that he can't go to Venezuela, to El Salvador, which is his homeland, Cambodia said they'll take him. And I would have put him on a plane and told them to go over there with him to Cambodia so you can cover the prison that he's going to be put in. Yeah. I would have had them cover him going into a Cambodian prison camp. You dig? Yeah. I'm talking about the most ridiculous environment he could be put in. That's what I would have did.
Matter of policy, does the administration believe that immigration judges, because they're under DOJ, that their orders can be overruled by what the administration wants? Is that a general matter of policy?
Well, actually, so specifically, is the Attorney General has authority to overrule the immigration courts, and that's actually by statute. Yes. Other questions?
Stephen, on the gold card, the President and Secretary Lutnick have suggested they're lining up applicants already. How many people do you expect to be tagged to this program when the President announces it this week, if he actually announces it?
I'll let Secretary Lutnick provide that update, but I appreciate that.
The White House administration is going to report undocumented people.
Much more than that. Much more.
Stephen, also of the 10 alleged gang members that Secretary Rubio said were sent to El Salvador over the weekend, what sort of due process did they get as mandated by the Supreme Court?
Well, you're talking about the alien enemies?
Yes, the alien.
So first of all, a number of those are MS-13. So again, those are just standard removals of El Salvadorians to El Salvador. And
what evidence did you provide that they were MS-13?
Okay, so we seem to be confused about this. Illegal aliens from El Salvador, again, get deported to El Salvador. Do you all appreciate that tens of thousands of El Salvadorians have been deported to El Salvador? You seem to be under the impression that El Salvadorians living in our country illegally just get to stay here. They don't. They get arrested and deported. Then the fact that they're MS-13 just puts an extra priority on our deporting them. but we would deport someone to El Salvador regardless of whether or not they were MS-13 if they were here illegally. That's just an extra, because of the priority on public safety threats, we're emphasizing the removals of gang members, in this case, foreign terrorist organization gang members. But as to your other question, they went through all of the due process, as you would call it, that is required by law. So, but I just want to, what I find so mystifying is that I've been talking to you all for a very long time. I legitimately, in my entire, going back years actually, in my entire professional life, I've never received this many questions from the media about an American who was raped or murdered by an illegal alien.
Exactly.
Legitimately never. And all of you who...
That's the point I was making earlier. They have zero interest in the American people. The leftist media. You never received questions about Lincoln Riley. You never received the questions about plane crashes. I mean, you never received anything as intense as they don't give a damn about nothing as much as they give a damn about these damn illegals.
Who are enjoying your lives and doing quite well. If you had children and you were living near any of these people, you would move away immediately. You would call the police immediately. You would call us and ask us to make you and your family safer immediately. And you thank your lucky stars every night that you have enough means and enough money not to live in communities where, say, illegal alien pedophiles offend and reoffend and keep reoffending and keep reoffending. The expression there, but for the grace of God go I. The Biden administration apprehended 2 illegal aliens from Venezuela. They were trained to Aragua. A lot more than 2, but the story I'm telling you is 2. And they decided they were entitled to an enormous amount of due process. And they didn't feel they had enough evidence to just deport them right away. So they put them on a monitoring system known as supervised release. You're familiar with this case. But a few weeks later, they kidnapped a young girl named Jocelyn Nungary, who was 12 years old at the time. I'm sure you've seen pictures of her. I mean, just the most perfect girl you could possibly imagine. And her mother loved her very much. She was tied up, savagely beaten, stripped naked, tortured to death, murdered. Her body was dumped into the lake. So she didn't get any due process, but I'll tell you who did are the 2 illegal aliens from Venezuela who stole her forever. And there's stories like that all over the country. We just arrested a...
That's enough. That's the point I'm making. And how can anyone, I mean, at this point in time, bro, like for real, I want somebody that's a real deal Democrat to tell me how you can support this. Forget about Trump. Forget about all the Elon Musk derangement. How can you support this in any way, shape, or form, dog? Like, it's insane that you would sit there and say, well, yeah, the Republicans is doing this, and you supporting this foolishness. And the media is so far behind it. It's this incessive need to try and destroy Donald Trump or to destroy Elon Musk. You rather sacrifice the whole country to fight them and then damn your own children and damn your own wife and damn your own grandchildren in the process. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous, man. It truly, truly is utterly ridiculous. Here he is again going off.
Number 1, DOJ said a federal court cannot compel the executive branch to engage in any mandated act of diplomacy or incursion upon the sovereignty of another nation. So your argument is that you don't have to bring him back home, but will you?
So I want to correct, I hate to do it, Bill, but I got to correct you on every single thing that you said because it was all wrong. First, we won the Supreme Court case. Clearly, 9-0. A district court judge said unconscionably that the president and his administration have to go into El Salvador and extradite one of their citizens, an El Salvadorian citizen, so that would be kidnapping, that we have to kidnap an El Salvadorian citizen against the will of his government and fly him back to America, which would be an unimaginable act and an invasion of El Salvador's sovereignty. So we appealed to the Supreme Court, and it said clearly, no district court can compel the president to exercise his Article 2 foreign powers in any way whatsoever. DOJ called me after that Supreme Court ruling, and they said, this is amazing. We won this case 9-0. We are in excellent standing here. So this has been portrayed wrong for 72 hours in the media. They said the most a court could ever compel you to do would be to facilitate return, which would basically mean if El Salvador voluntarily sends him back, we wouldn't block him at the airport. We would put him back into ICE detention, and then he would be deported either back to El Salvador or somewhere else. The Supreme Court said that is the most the government can be expected to do. So we won the case handily. The misreporting on this has been atrocious.
Okay,
Secondly,
I appreciate
he was
the
not, no, Bill, it's
clarification that's the
important.
case.
He was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador.
Okay, so do you still
He's
believe
an illegal
he is a
alien
member of
from
MS?
El Salvador. Hold on, this is important. In 2019, he was ordered deported. He has a final removal order from the El Salvador. Hold on, this is
It's amazing how you can almost see. Look at Bill's face. It's something about these people when they go, no matter if they consider themselves, no matter if they're on Fox, no matter if they're on CNN, no matter if they're on MSNBC, it's almost like when you look at his face on the left, you see what looks like a little possessed looking turtle under his skin. Like this, I mean, I know I sound crazy, but just look closely how his skin and his face is sagging, like everything is sagged. Like there's something underneath there. And it's every channel. The girl with the smile that goes way up here. It's almost as if these entities that are inside of them physically change their appearance. And the next question he was going to say is, do you believe he's an MS-13 gang member? Trick, they know he's an MS-13 gang member. You wonder, why would this man on Fox News be trying to get gotcha points? What is it going to benefit Fox News to take this stance? And this is how you know there's something else going on behind the scenes. It don't benefit them to take a stance. It don't benefit them to twist the truth in any way, shape, or form. I'm telling you, man, these people in this media are possessed. Like my girl, Candace Owens. I love Candace Owens. But something done jumped into Candace Owens. I'm sorry. Something done jumped in Candace. Candace lost her damn mind. Because Candace just Jew bashing all over the place. Something done jumped in my girl Candace. I'll wait to see if her face changes. But, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. What it is, where it came from, I don't know. Maybe it's because she worked with a bunch of Jews at some point in time and she had beef with them. But it's just they get consumed by something. They get full on consumed by that thing. And next thing you know, they're acting like weirdos. Full on freaking weirdos, man. Look, China losing. Weirdos all over the place. We winning. I'll see y'all in the morning.